Show only on Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Vice President Jagdeo had a press conference. It lasted for over 3 hours. And when you sit there, and you listen to what the Vice President had to say, he came with his own agenda, local government election, and a number of other issues he raised. When you listen to what he say, and the answers he gave to some of the questions posed to him, the way how he go around and come around and go around in a circle, and talk about things you didn't ask him or is irrelevant to the question asked or posed to him, it can really frustrate you. I used to hear my reporters complaining, boss, how they get frustrated when they go to the Vice President press conferences. But today, I experienced it for myself. The first question I asked him about renegotiation of the contract, and he began telling me about Guyana doesn't have money to do any oil project. That was never part of my question, and he went on to stray completely away from the question of renegotiation. At the end of it, Joshua, after he rant and rave, he go around like a yo-yo. He said they are not looking at about renegotiation of the contract. It's really frustration. It's really frustrating, And when a leader can dance this dance with a country with $1 trillion, US $1 trillion oil sector, it speaks volumes as to where this country is heading. Joshua, anybody can listen to the press conference. It's online, it's on the Facebook pages, it's there. And draw your own conclusion. You don't have to take my word for it. You just listen to it, get your relatives or friends or somebody to pull it up and listen to it. And you would confirm what I'm saying. Driving back to the office, me and my reporters, I could have only shake my head and say, God have to help this land with how these politicians addressing this $1 trillion oil sector we have. It's very sad, Joshua. It gets even sadder, if that's a correct word, when you listen to how the elected, our young president, responds to questions. And this is where I want to begin my tonight's program. For you to listen how a president would respond to a simple question posed to him. Could you play him for me? I get that clip for him.
I said in my address, let us be factual. Let us understand the reality and not gaff. This is a president that is not interested in gaffing. This is a president that is interested in doing. So if they want to gaff, you can call critic and them boys and gaff.
Wow. I want you all to notice very carefully how the president said he isn't into gaffing. He's into facts and doing. And the reality, he's into facts and reality. And if you want to gaff, go to critic and them boys. Yes. That was a part of President Ali's response to a citizen in Bartica recently, uncle, when she asked him to tell us something about our oil blocks. He became upset and lashed out at the lady. If you want to gaff, go to critic. Sit with him and gaff. Well, it seems that a lot of people who wants to gaff in this country, heeding President Ali's advice and joining critic for gaff. Even the foreigners running over to critic forget a nice gaff. Joshua, Monday night they played part of critic gaff. One such person, Auntie, is the head of ExxonMobil Guyana, a man named Alistair Routledge. He sat with critic last week and had a good gaff about what Exxon is doing for Guyana and what Guyana getting from the oil deal we have with ExxonMobil. This is what our government, uncle and auntie, and the opposition encouraging in this land with our future. Yes, this US $1 trillion oil asset we have. Encouraging the Guyana head of an oil superpower to sit with a comedian who only know to gaff, rather than sit with the independent mainstream media who can properly engage and drill him on the oil deal and the oil business Guyana got. He engaging critic, a man who is nothing but a clown and knows nothing about the oil industry to sit with. This is what Guyana's $1 trillion oil business has come to, with me and you future inside. I want to play another short tape, a minute tape, for you to decide. You may want to think that calling this man a clown, I am going overboard. But I want you to listen to this clip in how he behaved and in his own voice. Could you play it for them?
Good morning, critics. How are you?
Ma, how is me? What's your problem?
I don't got a problem. I just want to say good morning to you and how are you doing?
Ma, you're watching me live this morning. It's a busy morning. People up the East Coast got problems. People got stress. One man there, 3 cow, cause he dead. And it was he move on to now. How you think I is?
Well, you have to take it easy. You want to get high blood pressure, don't you?
No, me can't get high blood pressure, so me stay. Me get pressure, people like you, Carl, like Alice in Wonderland, like nothing going on. How is me?
But critic.
But me blood clot, man. Do you know this morning how much people are in distress trying to come down the East Coast? How are you? How the blood clot you think I is?
Oh boy. Oh boy. Wow. Auntie and uncle, my fellow brothers and sisters of this country, imagine this is the man, the CEO of Exxon Guyana, sitting down to talk with about me and you oil future. This US $1 trillion oil future. This is the respect that Exxon has for me and you. When he sit down with a clown like that, an erratic man, Joshua, I don't know a word to describe that. But I'll say this, Joshua. If, Uncle, if you people cannot smell what is ahead in that bag for Guyana from Exxon Mobil, then something is wrong with y'all nose. We can all smell when we own Guyanese tricking us, Joshua, and making a fool out of us. But when we refuse to do the same, when it comes to the massa of ExxonMobil, then I don't know what else to say to Guyana. If this isn't I pass to a nation, then Glenn don't know what is. Monday night, I played a 1 minute of a single clip for you people to hear. Alastair Routledge telling the clown, that same clown, Guyana got the best deal ever. That is putting unprecedented revenues into Guyana's bank account and more to come. That's what he said. This is how, Uncle, we put sweet soap and perfume on the corpse, on the dead of an oil deal Guyana get from ExxonMobil. A deal that stinks so bad that even his own white people telling Guyanese that we get a raw deal. He's saying Guyana get the greatest deal ever with nothing to back that up but fancy and flowery words from his mouth. Tonight, Uncle and Auntie, I promise to continue that Monday night program Wednesday, and here I am. I want to play another piece of the same gaff between Routledge and that gaff man or that clown critic. Could you play the next piece? Let him hear him.
You know, and the other thing that we hear all the time is this 2%. Everyone talks about the 2%, but it is just a small part of the revenue that the state receives. The country receives half of the profit that is made from the production activities. So just imagine, no investment up front, no risk for the country. Take half of the profit, and then the 2% is 2% of the gross revenues paid by the contractors, which is ExxonMobil, Hess, and CNOOC, out of their profit share to the government. So today, where the profit is 25% of the total revenues, 12.5% goes to the state, and then 2% comes out of the contractor's 12.5% and goes to the state. So the state ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit.
Wow. Wow, Joshua. Half and half profit. Joshua, when you listen to that man and the way he presented himself to Guyana, you believe that we are in such a wonderful position. When in fact, Uncle, when in fact, that is half the truth he's telling Guyana. This man reminded me of Ashni Singh when he said insurance is a vital toolkit that every household, every business, every man, every woman and child must have. But when it comes to Guyana having full protection, full liability coverage on an oil spill from ExxonMobil, this financial guru Ashni Singh gone numb and dumb. He never come out for talk about that. That is how this man, Routledge, came over just now when he spoke about Guyana getting half and half profit from the oil revenue. This is how we knew Massa, Alastair Routledge, presented himself with Guyana's half and half profit. Flowery and rosy. He said everybody talking about this 2%, but nobody talking about the half and half profit we getting. The way how he said it, Uncle, anybody who doesn't know the facts or the true details underneath his explanation would jump for joy and want to kiss his feet. Well, this is where, Auntie, I want to explain and show all of you how that man is only telling us half of the story about this half and half profit Guyana is getting. He half and half is a half-baked cook-up story coming out of a quarter of the apple. The three-quarter of the apple, what them eating, he didn't even mention a word about that. That's how conniving they are. You hear how skillfully he used the English language with critic to make us believe it's the sweetest thing Guyana get. Auntie, everything that man said there just now about half and half is nothing but half and half of the whole truth between Guyana and the oil companies them. And this is where I want to break down what he said there and explain to you how tricky and clever that white spin doctor, yes, this new massa is. The gaff he put on critic, you would believe that we are getting the milk with the cream. Yes. When that is far from the truth, Auntie, we are not getting even the water from the milk. He said, everybody talking about the 2% only, but nobody talking about how Guyana invested no money. Guyana got no risk, but still getting half and half of the profit. Now, Uncle, let me tell that clown critic was sit down there quietly and swallowing that hook down his throat. If Guyana did not invest a single cent in the oil sector, then why is Guyana paying back all the billions spent on the FPSO, the rigs, the drill ships, and so on? Why? Whose oil is paying back for that investment, Uncle? Exxon? Or the new massa? No, sir. Guyana. Me and the people of this country, oil money, is paying back for every cent spent out there, Routledge. So to tell this nation that Guyana invests no money and have no risk is not even half of the truth you tell in this country. You're being disrespectful and dishonest in dismissing our ability to understand the game you want to play with us when you sit down to gaff with critic. We understand what is playing out, Routledge. Auntie and Uncle, ExxonMobil take our oil fields with the oil inside and pledge it to the foreign banks, collected billions without our authorization, and then this man telling us that we didn't invest any money there. Come on, Massa. You for real? Exxon used the money that they borrow, Uncle, that they borrow on our head, in which every cent is being taken back before half and half profit is shared. And still this man, Routledge, saying, we didn't invest any money. How you like that, Joshua? It's like me pledge my house to the bank for a loan for your son, Joshua, to do business. And then your son turn back and saying or tell me I don't have any investment or any risk in that business. Me house pledge for you, son, get the loan, you know. For you do the business, and then you telling me that me got no risk. I mean, I got no investment in the business. Wow. Wow. That is exactly, Joshua, what this white massa want Guyanese people to believe. We have no investment out there when it's we oil block pledge to collect all the money. You see how conniving and deceptive Routledge is? Saying we have no investment and no risk, but still getting half and half profit, according to him. Them really gotta love me and you, eh? Forgive we half and half profit with no investment. Let me say this, Uncle. The only way ExxonMobil could have gone to the bank or all the financial institutions and get the billions to invest out there is on the back of our oil. He didn't give that part or that piece with critic. He's skillfully dancing and painting a picture with critic as if we didn't put anything into the business. So let me ask this again, Uncle. Is who really invest out there, man? ExxonMobil or we oil field? Joshua?
Yes, sir.
Let's turn to that other word he gaffing about, risk. He said we have no investment and we have no risk. No investment up front, no risk for the country. Auntie and uncle, that is far, far from the truth. This investment, this oil business is the most frightening and dangerous risk countries upon countries have ever faced. Many countries haven't recovered from having to actually face those risks. They are real, Uncle. They are deadly and they are disastrous for nations and their citizens. The risk we face, I'm talking about. One of the biggest risks this country and the region is exposed to is from the oil investment, which is why every single individual, local and international, has been calling for full liability coverage from the three parent companies working out there, Hess, CNOOC, and ExxonMobil. Up to this moment, we are still living with that great dangerous risk. And this massa telling Guyana on Critic program, the country has no risk. You guys see who he can sit down. Who he can sit down with to have this kind of gaff? The entire fishing industry has dwindled to little or nothing because of the oil operations, and yet Guyana has no risk, according to this massa. The excessive flaring causing massive damage and disruption to the atmosphere and our lives. And we still have no risk. Let me ask you guys, man. You guys not feeling the heat? Both day and night these days? How are you sleeping? As to how you used to sleep before, Joshua?
It's extra hot.
Is that same oil operations going on out there that comes with no risk to you or your lives have us in this situation today? And several other dangerous risks. If I am to talk about them, we will not go home tonight. Yet this white man, Routledge, saying we have no risk in this oil sector. Today again at the press conference, the vice president addressed it with another little swing to it. He said they're still working on to get ExxonMobil, parent company, them, to take on full responsibility with full liability coverage. I was happy when he said that. He wasn't very clear, but I got that out of him this afternoon at the press conference. Wow. My reporter, having seen that he liked for gaff, Joshua, sent an invitation for him to come on the Kaieteur Radio to continue the same type of gaffing. I will give you an update, Uncle and Auntie, as to if he will ever come to gaff with us here at the Kaieteur News. Let me tell Critic this. It's not only Guyana at great risk, sir, but the entire region. And I don't know how the regional bodies have not kicked up a stink as yet to fight this situation we find ourselves in with this great risk. I don't know. I just don't know. But, Uncle and Auntie, I want us to turn to the main gaff, this 2% thing. Could you play back routledge to me? 2%.
So today, where the profit is 25% of the total revenues, 12.5% goes to the state, and then 2% comes out of the contractor's 12.5% and goes to the state. So the state ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit.
Wow. He says that today, where the profit is 25% of the total revenues, 12.5% goes to the state, and then 2% comes out from the oil companies, 12.5% profit share, and goes to Guyana. So Guyana end up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit. Hear me? Out of the 25% profit. Joshua?
Yes, sir.
There is two things he said there that needs to be emphasized and exposed. The 2% and that 25%. When he said the 2% comes out of the oil company's 12.5% share and is added to Guyana's 12.5%, and Guyana ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit, Uncle. Man, Joshua, that is a spin. That's a spin the man put in on this whole thing. This is how the man is playing with our minds. You see what he's trying to install in our head there, Joshua? That out of the 25% profit, Guyana is not getting 12.5. We're getting 14.5% and them getting 10.5. That is a rotten apple. Wash up clean, aisle, and beautifully wrapped with a big red bow that he's presenting to all of us here in Guyana. That, Uncle, is far from the truth. It is not even half of the truth. But that white man wants us to believe that Guyana is getting 14.5% and them only getting 10.5% out of the 25% profit share. Me and you must say, yay. He's actually telling us for we to say, yay. We must jump up a joy, Uncle. We get an edge over ExxonMobil. We put in no money. We have no risk. And them giving we 14.5% and them taking 10.5%. Them love we. Them love our brown, black, and purple people. Make them gonna give our these more profit than what them taking for themselves. When in fact, we both getting equal amount of 12.5 out of the 25% profit sharing. Both of us getting 12.5 and 12.5. I am coming to that 25% just now. Now I'm dealing with the 2%. So just stay tuned with me. Let me expose this devious, evil, and wicked man to tell this nation Guyana ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit share. Uncle, it is completely false. The 2% that he wants us to believe they are giving us out of their share, uncle, should not be coming out of anybody's share. That 2% he's talking about has nothing to do with profit sharing, uncle. That money is separate and distinct from profits. That money comes out at the top before any discussion or calculation is done on profit sharing, auntie. You hear that clear, uncle? That 2% royalty should not even be mentioned in any profit sharing conversations or gaff. If they pump up 100 barrels, right away 2 barrels belong to Guyana, and the 98 barrels is being shared half and half after profit come out. That is how simple it is. So to tell us, Massa, Mr. Routledge, that you guys are taking out that 2% from the oil company's profits and put it over to we profit is only a trick. Yes, it's only a trick. You're trying to make us a fool. You're trying to make us a big S out of all the Guyanese people. That's what you're trying to do. It's a big sham. Joshua?
Yes, sir.
What he purposely left out in the 2% gaff with that clung was that it is fully recoverable by the oil companies. That was one of the questions I was supposed to ask the Vice President today. And the press conference closed that I didn't get that question in. He didn't gaff on that part. Down to that 2%, they're taking it back, uncle and auntie. He didn't say a word about that. So they're basically not giving us anything. That 2%. He went to critic with a songbook, uncle, and only singing bhajans and ghazals. The ghazals he's singing only suit he and he company. That's what he did. Could you play back the tape for me, man? Let these people hear this tape?
Yes. Mm-hmm. You know, and the other thing that we hear all the time is this 2%. Everyone talks about the 2%, but it is just a small part of the revenue that the state receives. The country receives half of the profit that is made from the production activities. So just imagine, no investment up front, no risk for the country. Take half of the profit, and then the 2% is 2% of the gross revenues paid by the contractors, which is ExxonMobil, Hess, and CNOOC, out of their profit share to the government. So today, where the profit is 25% of the total revenues, 12.5% goes to the state, and then 2% comes out of the contractors' 12.5% and goes to the state. So the state ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit.
Auntie and uncle, within that single minute, this massa used the word profit, not one time, not 2 times, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, but 6 times. 6 times. You hear that, Joshua? 6 times the man used the word profit in a single minute. This is how they play with your mind, trying to make us what we are not with this profit sharing deal. Listen to half minute of that minute. Play the half minute again, brother.
So today, where the profit is 25% of the total revenues, 12.5% goes to the state, and then 2% comes out of the contractor's 12.5% and goes to the state. So the state ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit.
Ow. Now let's go to the apple. The marrowbone. Yes. This profit share this man talking about, coming from 25% of the gross revenue, in which we split half and half. Yes, 12.5% and 12.5%. Uncle, how did Routledge arrive at that 25% figure is a mystery and a magic which he didn't touch or say a word about. What that means. Our life, our dreams from our profits are based on a magic where the oil business is concerned. You may not have recognized how skillfully and boastfully he spoke of that 25% profit share 6 times in that 1 minute. But never for 1 second said anything about the missing 75%. Yes, about the missing 75% that is missing from the 25%. Here, Josh, is only 25%. Kevin, 25% he spoke about. Nothing about that 75% that is missing. He talked about the 25% of the apple. What happened to the 75% of the apple? Kevin, everybody know you don't get 25% profit. Profit is always come from 100%. So how this man talking about Guyana and the oil company sharing half and half profit from 25% of the apple, Kevin? How come? Not a single word he mentioned during his gaffe with critic about the missing 75% of the apple. They will never entertain a discussion on that part of the apple, uncle. You know why, critic? Because that is where the oil companies is stripping Guyana naked in front of our eyes, flipping you how they want, and when they're done with you, you will be exactly where Africa is today. Did you hear what I said there just now, Kevin? When they're done with you, we will be right where Africa is. That 75% of the apple that they're eating off and not saying a word, uncle, is where they are fattening their cows. Yes, themselves. And leaving our cow to eat or to feed on 12.5% of the 25% slice of the apple. That's where we are eating from. That's where our cow got to graze from. 12.5 of the 25% apple. The man was glowing with the glitter of his story. No risk, no investment, but you get in 12. You get in half and half of the profit. You could ask for a better deal than that, auntie? What he's doing here is like waving a huge candy in front of a school with kids who never tasted a candy before, enticing the children when in fact the candy is being used as a bait to make them feel nice. Yes, to lure them with a rotten candy and then take advantage on them. That is what ExxonMobil is doing to all of us in Guyana when Routledge said that no risk, no investment, and that half and half profit. That's what he's doing. The glamour and glitter in the Guyana-Exxon relationship, but the real glitter that they are silently draining away, thieving out, siphoning off, is nowhere in the picture, Uncle. He didn't mention a word about that with Critic during the gaffe. He talked about the glimmer and the hopes from the 25% of the apple. But the other 75% that they are eating conveniently disappear from his mouth. Nobody asking questions or even having a gaffe about this 75% that is missing from the 25% formula in which Guyana getting 12.5%. Nobody asking that. Guyana should be talking about 50% of 100%, Uncle, not 50% of 25% profit. That is what we should be asking and talking about. 50% of 100%, 50% of the whole apple, not 50% of a quarter of the apple. No, that's not profit. Them tell us we get the biggest contract, the best contract ever. Man, Uncle, I want to talk about this 75%. That's what I want to talk about. So you can see where that will take us down the road. You talk about the 25, let me tell you all about the 75%. Monday, I talked a little on cost recovery, cost oil. Now I want to elaborate a little more on those two words, cost oil or cost recovery. I will repeat myself. Those two words means everything in our oil contract. That two words will put Guyana exactly or even worse where Africa is today if we don't demand a new formula in that contract on those two words, cost recovery. What it means for Guyana and the shaft or the pole Guyana is getting from those two words. That portion of the contract has to change, Uncle. And during Routledge gaffe with Critic, he willfully and skillfully avoid talking about that same two words, cost recovery, which attaches or tie that binds Guyana to the 75% of the apple. Man, Uncle, that alone, that 75% alone eating up everything. And he didn't say a word about that. But he was happy to elaborate about the 25% of the apple in which Guyana getting a bite of. I am certain after he came off that program with Critic Kevin, he went and took a drink with his colleagues, convinced that he got us hooked, got us locked. Man, he was able to sell us, he was able to sell the quarter apple gaffe to Guyana, and all Guyanese buy it. That is what they were sitting down having a drink and talk about after that program with Critic. Man, he prefers to play with that 25% and then turn back and laugh at all of we with his friends. That's what he did, Kevin. Play with we and go back and laugh with your friends. We got them locked. swinging something shiny in front of my face, auntie, and everybody saying we got gold, diamond and pearls, when all we getting is a few pennies with copper and billions in US dollar in debts. You can do the maths with me, uncle. All of us went to school. You can do the maths with me. At present, let's say we are getting 1 billion a year. And Exxon got 40 billion in debt already out there. And every day they are adding to that debt. Man, when you think Guyana will ever pay off those debts? That's a simple maths question. That is the question I want Routledge and Vice President Jagdev them to answer and to show us how we getting out of that trap we find ourselves in. Like I said, we already got 40 billion US dollar on those 4 projects, in which every day 75% of the oil that comes up goes towards that payment first before any profit is shared, uncle. Yes, 75% coming out before any profit is shared. And every other project that goes on adds many more billions. Where does that put Guyana, Kevin? You got an idea? It's like we are bailing a leaking boat that is taking in more water than we throwing out. You hear me? In a nutshell, that is your oil story. And I would like to challenge Routledge, Jagdev, Norton and Ramjatan to come here and sit with me and prove me wrong. You know, I want to go so far to give any one of them $1 million to prove me wrong, what I said there. This arrangement, uncle, this formula Guyana has with Exxon is taking this country to a far worse place than the oil producing countries in Africa. Far, far, far. And as we go in now, billions more keep adding every day by the oil companies them. Issuing more and more contracts without our authorization, building more and more FPSOs, costing in the billions. So we will have billions in cost piling up that we will never ever be able to pay off with the oil. And this is the best contract ever, these people telling us we have. You know, when you understand this thing, what they're doing to us, if you really understand this thing the way I understand it, you would feel like scream for this country. You would scream for the people of this country for what Bharat Jagdeo, Norton, President Ali and Ramjatan them doing to us. This arrangement is extremely frightening. This 75% cost recovery of money, we don't know. We didn't authorize. We are not checking. Is extremely dangerous in a profit-sharing business, uncle. Can you picture for a moment that your neighbor picking your coconuts and every 100 he pick every day, 75 is for the workmanship, the cutlass and the file, and the remaining 25 coconut got to share equally between the two of you. Yes, between the two of you. That is the Exxon deal. And that will go on for many years, if not the lifetime of the coconut farm. The 25, the 75 the man take for himself for pick it. And 25 of the coconut, the man a share half and half. 12 and a half for you and 12 and a half for me. That is the oil business. A man pick 100 truckload mango every day from your yard. And he taking 75 truckload for picking and transport the mangoes. 75. And the 25 truckloads got to share half and half between the two of you as profit. You get 12 and a half and I get 12 and a half. That's the Exxon deal. And that will go on for many years till the mangoes done from your mango farm or your yard. Same thing with your rice field. A man bring combine, he cut 100 bag every day. He take 75 bag for he combine and workmanship. And 25 bag is he's bossing half and half. 12 and a half for you and 12 and a half for me. That is the exact story going on between ExxonMobil and Guyana deal. And that will go on until the rice done cut, uncle. Am I clear, dear Bernard?
Quite clear. Quite well.
This deal, it is so stinking that only the 25 mango, the 25 coconut, and the 25 bag of rice the white man talk about as profit. He ain't say a single word about the 75 truckload they gone with, the 75 bag rice they gone with, or the 75 bag coconut they gone with. Only 25 coming out his mouth all the time. Could you play it back for me, man? Play the whole thing. Or play the end. Which one?
So today, where the profit is 25% of the total revenues, 12.5% goes to the state, and then 2% comes out of the contractor's 12.5% and goes to the state. So the state ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit.
Wow. Yes, the 25%. And the royalty, the 2% royalty, he said, them take it out from them 12 and give away, so we get 14. Yeah? 87.5% them gone with. Right? And we left with the 12.5. And the man said that is half and half profit. Somebody carrying away 75 bag paddy every day for your rice field. You hear me? Left in 25 out of that 25. He got to get half as profit and you get half. And that is business. That is business we doing with ExxonMobil. You notice I keep emphasizing on the 75 bag, Bernard?
Of course, that's where
That is the 75% Exxon taking out every day on all the oil they pump up. And then the 25 were left. Yes, about half and half. Wait, man, uncle. The chunk of your thing, your product, these guys taking out in cost recovery, and you have no say on that? What do you think will happen here, man? Everything will finish. And at the end of the field, you will get nothing but debts because the destruction that comes with it. I don't know if the 12.5 bag paddy you're getting will be able to fix the problems you have. Uncle, is everything they're going to jack up? Yes, they're going to jack up the price on. When I'm done with you coconut will done, the mango gone done, the rice gone done, and you gone done too behind it, without knowing it. You notice how skillfully, Bernard, The man keep emphasizing on the half and half profit on the 25% of the apple.
Obviously.
But not a word, not a single word on that 75%, on the other 75% of the apple. This is where the country stands, Uncle and Auntie. This is the agreement the politicians are proud to be part of. That rotten deal. This man said the best deal Guyana can ever have. Snatching up 75%, eating up 75% up front, and got the nerve to tell we that the 25% that left back, we sharing half and half. And out of their half, them taking out 2% royalty to throw in we profit. Because they love we so much. They love we so much. Man, I love the tape. Could you play back that piece of tape? Man? They love we so much, Bernard.
So today, where the profit is 25% of the total revenues, 12.5% goes to the state, and then 2% comes out of the contractor's 12.5% and goes to the state. So the state ends up with 14.5% out of the 25% profit.
5%. 25%, Bernard. Exxon Routledge saying it's the best ever contract Guyana can have. Guyana Vice President Jagdeo said 2 weeks ago is a bad deal. Bernard? So we find ourselves in the middle of the gap between the best and the bad. When we gonna fix that, Bernard, you know? When will we correct this, Uncle?
Well, it's done.
When will we finally hear about renegotiation? You want to hear anything about tomorrow, Bernard?
No.
Or you want to hear about now?
No.
Well, I want to hear about changing the formula and changing it now. Today's press conference, the Vice President talked about cost of living, high cost of living. The opposition leader had a rally on high cost of living. The Vice President talked about part-time job. Man, a number of things he talked about. He talked about the fishermen. He talked about throwing little grant. You know, Bernard, if only this deal we have, he can change the formula. If only he can hold back these projects and eke out some benefits out of these projects. You know, Guyana doesn't have to talk about cost of living. You know how much money can come in here? If only he can look at these costs that are being thrown on these projects, you know, we would have no issue. We would not have to be talking about part-time job. We would not even have to put cane cutters in the field. So much money can be rolling into this country. But guess what? Their hands are tied, their feet tied, and their mouth look like something gone on it. Because when you talk about renegotiation, Uncle, it's like you're interfering with their parents. You're doing something terrible to their parents. They get very upset and annoyed at you. But they have no shame talking about high cost of living. Joshua?
Yes, sir.
I want to take it easy tonight. I want to end with that. God bless you guys.
alert and be aware. Be aware of your neighbors. Be aware of your friends. Be aware of the people you have in your home. Do not become complacent. Protect children now. You can make a report to the police or call the CPA hotline on 227-0979.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
It's Giftland's biggest sale ever this Black Friday from Friday, November 18th up until Friday, November 25th. Get up to 80%